Look at me. One eye, one arm, one leg. I've had to overcome daily obstacles that you don't even think about. As long as the spindle's on this side of the edge.
Jason Killmer is a world-class polisher whose life has never been easy.
How can you get up every day with a smile on your face as best as you can and keep on going?
How to stay positive and achieve excellence are subject to this week's Nick at Night podcast.
Jason, what's your favorite polish? Where do I start? What do I get?
We do talk polishing, but Jason the Sandman Killmer also has some wisdom on whether you should use sandpaper on paint.
It can be very frustrating, and it's costly, and you can make mistakes very quickly. When they see a panel perfected with sandpaper at a high level, they're like, I don't know why that looks way better, but it looks way better.
And stay tuned for some of the most unique polishing advice I've ever heard.
You're literally just going by animal gut instinct.
Jason Killmer, today I want to talk to you about detailing, about polishing your story, but first reflecting on serving with impact. Before we started recording, you said this was really something on the top of your mind, and I wonder if we could start there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been something on my mind for a while now. I'm very I believe the Bible. And if you go back to the New Testament, when Jesus was on the earth, and if you don't know much about the Bible, you can watch Passion of the Christ or something like that. And Jesus' mission was serve with impact. And I thought about that, and I talked to some people, and I just couldn't get this thought out of my mind. Every day you have a choice to do this or that. What if you just serve with impact? What if it's talking to the person at the grocery store or the latte stand, or I just got my oil changed. And there's a tone of voice with authenticity where you can stop people dead in their tracks just with a couple of words. And that sets the tone of everything. And that doesn't matter what happens or doesn't happen. It's just how can you serve with impact?
You talked about your son's coach, and that was something that I thought really resonated with me. So tell me this conversation with your son's football coach.
We were talking just recently, a couple weeks ago, and he came up to me and he's like, man, your son last year in tackle football was a killer. He's off the charts. The kid has energy and enthusiasm, and he's a fourth grade boy. And a lot of people take that incorrectly. Maybe some parents or some kids, or where he's a lot, right, in a small package. And he was asking me, I said, yeah, coach, whether I agree with the coaching or not, or the calls or whatever, I let you coaches coach. And I don't think it's right for a parent to just blurt out at these games and pretend like they're coaching, right? Because it's very difficult to do. And I said, I understand this because I teach and I coach what I do, and then I do it at a high level. And he was like, well, what do you do? I said, well, I've been blessed to detail some very expensive high-end cars over my career, over a long career. It's been pretty consistent. And so I said, but there's a caveat. I do it with a disability. And it stopped him right in his tracks. And so I showed him a couple of pictures to kind of set the tone. And he said, would you talk to our high school boys in the springtime and just kind of share your story and what it means to overcome and keep on going? Don't necessarily stop halfway through and give up, but keep on going and keep on going. So it was, that's what I want to do, is really, and it doesn't matter the profession. It's really, you're in the business of people. And if you can communicate with
As a
people,
detailer, you mean? Are you talking to detailers now, or are you talking about
no,
just kind of your bigger message, like
I'm
life?
just, yeah, I'm just talking about life in general.
Mm.
You don't have to be a business person necessarily, because I'm not, but I understand people. Um, I've got some people wrong, but for the most part, I'm pretty spot on when it comes to people and um, what they have to offer or not offer, and be okay with it on either end.
You mentioned one arm, one eye, one leg. You mentioned
Yeah,
disability. Like, what, for those who don't know you, and I like to
yeah,
assume folks are fresh here, right? It's
sure.
springtime. People get into detailing. If they don't know who you are in your story, like, where would you want them to start if they had never heard of Jason Killmer?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have, but we'll keep it very simple and short. I was born with cerebral palsy. I was born 10 weeks premature, which caused the cerebral palsy. Um, I have lack or no depth perception in the left eye, and so hemiplegia is the cerebral palsy I have, which is one complete side, which is my right side. So I can still use it, but it makes life interesting and a challenge. And as I've gotten
Yeah.
older, it's becoming more. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Some days are good, some days are not so good.
You did me the very like brief version of what's going on, but I know that you almost didn't make it.
Yeah,
Like if you're trying to talk about serving with impact, I think some of the impact can be from understanding some of your difficulties and then how you achieved what you've
yeah,
achieved. I don't know. We just passed Easter, so I'm sure
yeah,
as your faith being pretty important to you,
yeah.
what do you thanking God for these days?
Every day, every day. And you know, a lot of people think, well, every day is a good day then for Jason Kilmer. And that's so far from the truth because we are humans and we are imperfect and we're our bodies are failing. Mine just happen to be failing maybe at a faster rate than most people. So it's how can you get up every day with a smile on your face as best as you can and keep on going. And that's not happiness. I think that's a true inner joy of, you have a moment in time where life is short and you can go two ways. And one way is easier than the other way. Um, and I've just chosen to try to do the best I can do. Now I still make mistakes and I say dumb things, and we all do. But I try to have that on the forefront of my mind of I have an opportunity I could serve someone or help someone out. It might not be the right thing to do. I rarely make the right call. I try to make the right call, but at least I have that in my forefront of my head.
Well, we could talk about some of your achievements in the body shop, paint polishing, car beautification world. I want to talk about those, but I'm also kind of struck by your story. And if I remember correctly, did you ever meet your biological parents?
No, no, I'm the only one of the adopted eight, and I'm the oldest of the eight that never met my biological.
So your mom gave you up for adoption?
Yes, yes, she did.
Was that something that do you know much about her story and what led up to her?
Yeah, I know nothing. I absolutely know nothing, or very little. So I couldn't even give you a correct answer because it's so vague and it's minimal at most.
Do you wonder about it?
You know what? That's an often question I get, and at a very young age, as far back as I can remember, at the age of 4, I was okay with it. I saw what I was dealt. I saw everything around me. And I'm like, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where what's going on. And I never harbored ill feelings. I just thought that God put me in a place, in a position. I didn't understand it, but I took it for by faith, and I was okay with it.
When did you kind of come into faith, I guess? Because I think it's interesting. You could grow up being told to believe something, and then you can experience it, and then you don't need to believe it anymore. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in God because I've felt his love or presence or grace. Where did that happen in your life? Was it your adoptive parents? Did you just feel like, because I could see you being angry or feeling
Yeah.
like the victim based on some of your disabilities, and yet your outlook is so
Sure.
striking that I sort of wonder where it all came from.
Yeah. Yes, I've had bad days. Yes, I've asked why many times. I'm human. Um, but you know what? I don't know. I can't give you a definitive answer. I just knew. And I know that sounds cliche or weird,
No, it
or
doesn't.
I'm making it up, but I just knew. And I think if you've known me long enough, and you've talked to me, um, my thought process and the way I do things hopefully comes across as very consistent. That is very important to me. Even though I've made mistakes, a lot of mistakes, I've always tried to be very consistent.
Is consistency helpful as a human? I mean, detailer or not, like what tell me about consistency, because I'm interested in that word.
Yeah.
I just want to know what you've done, because a lot of people are dealt hands that are easier to deal with, and they find all kinds of ways to be unhappy, Kilmer. So I'm just curious. I want to know how your mind works.
Yeah. Consistency is not necessarily the day to day. If you go day by day by day by day, that's not consistency in my mind. Consistency is a very long time. And that really shows you what a person is made of, what they really believe, what they really think. Because people change day to day, right? Hour to hour, minute to minute, as do I. But if you take the negativity or the things that I've done wrong, which I've done many, right? I've upset a lot of people in my life, right? We all have. We've all done things that we regret, right? I don't like the term "no regrets" because we're not. I don't think that's not even humanly possible. But consistency is a course of action over a long period of time. And if that long period of time is really consistent, that's when you've done I think the very best that you can do.
I'm repeating this story second or third hand, so I'm sure it's going to be wrong. But I heard about Mahatma Gandhi one time being asked by a reporter as he was hopping onto a train, Gandhi, what is your message to the people? And he simply said, let my life be my message. Right? So, actions speak louder than words. I like that. Like, consistency is like Kilmer and what you've done. And so let's talk about some of the professional stuff. I do want to get into like how to polish paint. If I've never heard of you or I don't know anything about the Riddler Awards, I'm your son's coach, and I wonder what you do for a living. Maybe approach it that way, like to the layman, what have you achieved in the body shop, polishing, detailing industry?
I've been blessed. We'll just put that right up front. I've had some really important people in the very early start of my career really pour into me, from multiple facets, from the body shop. And then shortly after, probably 8 to 10 years in that career, I was kind of known by the detailers. So I'm kind of world renowned in both segments of the body shop high end world and the detailing world.
Riddler, Pebble Beach, what are those? You've won some awards?
Yeah,
I know you don't want to talk about it, but I want to hear from you, because I don't know. I don't know what you know.
Yeah.
This is your
Riddler,
chance. I'm asking you to tell me,
sure.
okay?
Yeah.
You're not bragging. I'm asking you. Just tell me about your awards. I want the people to understand who they're listening to. I want to set the scene a little bit.
Yeah, so Riddler is the most prestigious award, or was. That's there's another award that maybe has taken over, but Riddler is the highest standard of the hot rod world, and then Best of Show at Pebble Beach is the highest standard in the vintage car world, and those are probably two of the most highest prestigious awards that you can be a part of.
And you've won both of them?
Yes, I've been a part of many vehicles that have competed for those awards.
Okay.
Just a small part.
Just
Very
a small
part. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a PR machine, or maybe it's true that you are that good. So I just want to hear from you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not everybody's going to get a chance to get training from Killmer in person, but maybe there's some things that we can communicate to them over the internet. I obviously work with Ivan. We teach a really simple system for polishing paint. You've been out to Omaha. We've done a series of videos, so we know each other really well. You know Ivan, his teaching style, but this is about your teaching style. You do trainings, all right? Someone's sitting at home. You don't have a test hood for them, so we can't really do a show and tell.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start with understanding, I just want to learn to be as good as I can at polishing paint. I'd like to be as good as Killmer, but maybe I just really don't know what I don't know. Where do we start?
You just start by doing it, literally by doing it, and then recording yourself and studying the minute details. And I'm talking let's say I want to work on an edge, right? I just want to focus on one edge. That could be 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. I want to study that over and over and over and over again until I cannot get it wrong.
Well, what does that mean? I don't even understand that. Studying an edge.
Studying an edge. So if I'm polishing, right, and I go to the very edge of a panel, right?
Got it.
Hopefully it's a junkyard hood. Don't do this on your wife's car or your girlfriend's car or whatever. Maybe your grandma's car, because she loves you. But junkyard hood, and then just kind of go crazy on it and see what becomes of it. And that's without any training, any YouTube, anything. Just take a buffer and just go for it.
You like to just start there, so less explanation and more just get reps.
Just get it. Just get it.
Really? Any information on what pad to use or polish or how to clean it, or you just want people to just F around and find out a little bit on a test hood?
Just mess around and see what's possible. Because that way, and this is any discipline, if you start there with knowing nothing, you're eventually going to break through into something. And it's very small. Then study that. Then master that. Then study that. And then master that. Do it where you can't get it wrong. Not get it right, you can't get it wrong.
That's so interesting. And there's so much information on YouTube. There's every day I come across something that I want to learn more about. Teaching my kids something, I want to look on YouTube, how to teach your kids this, a little bit of that. There's books on stuff. There's YouTube University.
Mm-hmm.
There's we all know how to dive down the rabbit hole. And I think that's what I'm hearing you is
that's the problem. That's the problem.
Oh, that's the problem. So,
that's the problem.
What's the problem? Talk to me.
It's too much. Too much of this and too much of that and too much of this. Just take it down to a simplistic level, and you have a brain. Use it. Your brain is super intelligent. Your body works with your brain, and if it feels smooth and it looks fairly good, even though you don't know what you're doing, it's probably your results are probably going to be pretty good.
So trust yourself?
Trust your first instinct on what you see. It may be completely wrong, but it's a start. And you did it yourself.
Ooh, that's kind of powerful.
So you have no conception of is it right or wrong. You're literally just going by animal gut instinct.
I have never heard anybody encourage this before. I think it's so fascinating. I bring up Ivan just because we're business partners in DIY detail. I edit videos every day from home. He's on my computer screen. Like, he's in my life a lot. So
Yeah.
that's why I bring him up. Not to compare you two, but when we got together, I realized how similar a lot of your main precepts were on the big stuff. And I don't say that you agree with him on everything, but you know what I mean. There were certain times where I was like, oh, Ivan has said that, and Jason is saying it too. They're different people with different life experiences who do very different things. But like on some of the big stuff, it's like you got there just from experience and knowing a lot of things. You're very different people. So, but I keep bringing him up because I feel like you're teaching in such a different way. Okay. I know you like Harbor Freight. Is that where I should go to get my stuff? Like, where do if I don't have any buffer, if I don't have any tools or pads or polishes, like I'm coming out to Western Washington, I want to take a training from you, I got you in person. I would say, Jason, what's your favorite polish? Where do I start? What do I get?
Harbor Freight is actually a good, solid foundation where you can spend a little bit of money and just try it out and see if it works or doesn't work.
Do you want them to start with a rotary or a dual action?
That's a tough one because a rotary is actually pretty easy to use, but there's a big question. You can make a detrimental mistake like that
With a rotary.
with a rotor because it spins and it doesn't stall.
And why is that a problem for a beginner, an enthusiast? Like, what if they don't know what they don't know yet, right?
Yeah, because if they apply too much pressure and they don't know where the edge is at correspondent to the pad or backing plate they're using, they can generally heat a panel up and burn it. And the easiest way to tell is put a rotary on your finger and spin it and see if you burn your skin, which you will. So you have to understand that there's a balancing act there where a DA kind of takes out some of that initial mistake. It's like driving a go-kart to a Formula One car. You're not going to stick a novice into a Formula One car. There's a lot more workability to it, but if you understand the basics and the principle of the movement, that's much easier way to approach it.
So I'm hearing from you, just become a student of your tool, of your intuition, of your eyes, of what's happening on the paint. Really, really, the reason I brought up Ivan is y'all are very different, but you're both very assiduous students. Like, Ivan eats, breathes, and sleeps, everything automotive and detailing, and is always watching the YouTube videos. He wants to know what everyone's doing out there. He doesn't want to ever miss anything. He's constantly learning and studying. And when I remember talking to you a couple years ago, you said every day, even after winning all these awards and having all these big vehicles, you go out in your garage and you're tweaking on an acrylic panel. I didn't even know what acrylic was. Can you talk about the discipline you have? Because I think it kind of helps me understand the way you're trying to help us begin on a test hood, right? Like, what you talk about how you continue to practice. You're not just resting on your laurels. Like, I know everything.
Yeah. I mean, I did it this morning. I like acrylic panels, and I understand it's not paint, right? It's nothing. It's plastic. Paint is plastic essentially, but it gives you something that you can keep on working on. You can keep on focusing on, and you don't have to go to the junkyard and get a panel. So what that does is it builds muscle memory over and over and over. Case in point. So Steph Curry, right? If you follow basketball, the dude can shoot the lights out of anybody, right? He starts from 5 feet out. This guy can shoot from half court, no problem, and make them very often.
Very often, yeah.
Yeah, but he starts from 5 feet out. You're building the muscle memory, and then you step out. You build the muscle memory, you step out. You build the muscle memory, and you step out. So the acrylic panel is building my muscle memory. Even though I have the muscle memory, you can lose the muscle memory or the muscle memory changes. So always constantly studying and understanding what's going on.
So what did you do this morning? I mean, I feel like I have muscle memory and there's no way I've come even close to polishing how much you have, and you're still so like again. What did you do this morning? What on a Wednesday in April? What did you do to practice your muscle memory? Even though I'm arguing that you don't need that practice.
Yeah, I took 800 grit on the same acrylic panel. I probably have hundreds of hours on now, and I sanded with 800 just to get some of the muscle memory.
And then did you polish it out, or you just were sanding today?
I just sanded this morning. I had to go get my oil change, so I didn't have much time to mess around with it.
You're known as the Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot with sanding. I know a part of your story is working on the body shop side, and then you started this company called KXK Dynamics, and you had these sanding blocks. And for folks who don't understand the history, my understanding is you kind of bridged body shop to detailing, and then everyone got really into sanding, and you had such a big role in that. I wonder if you've changed your perspective on teaching sanding to the enthusiasts and detailers out there, or if you still think that it's something folks should do. With all that said, how do you feel about sanding paint?
There's different levels in what we're trying to do. So if we're taking it off a basic, somewhat like what you guys present on your channel, I would say sanding is probably not necessary, not needed. And kind of dangerous. It's something that you have to practice. And it can take a moment's slip, and our paints are getting thinner. We've talked about that. So
we've talked about it in other podcasts, but I want us to just start new here.
Yeah.
So if that's something you want to go into, we can go
Sure.
into here. Yeah.
You know what? You can sand. Anybody can sand. It's about polishing your scratches out or buffing them out to show you that you didn't do it.
What do you mean by that?
So if you put a sand scratch in something or a scratch, I want you to be able to buff it out so you can't see it, so someone that doesn't know what you did look at the panel and they'll go, oh, there's a bunch of lines here. What happened?
So it's not just okay.
You have to be able to polish really before you can sand.
So should I try to learn sanding?
That's a personal choice. I've just dove very deep into it. I think it can be very frustrating, and it's costly, and you can make mistakes very quickly. So if you're not willing to take the risk, I would say just stick with polishing or compounding.
What if they want to learn sanding? It's so interesting. We've done videos about sanding and sandpaper and sanding techniques. They don't do super well, and I just look at that from an analytics standpoint, not from an impact standpoint. Impact has nothing to do with numbers, right? Whether you're selling product or you're just trying to think about the human behind the numbers. If it impacted one person's life and it wasn't 1,000 views and one person watched it, but it helped them, it's great. But it doesn't get a lot of views. And so
no, it's not
I just realized not everyone's that into sanding, but the hardcore people are out there like thinking, I want to learn everything. I want to learn the DA. I want to learn the rotary. I want to learn sanding. I want to know how to do it all because I want to be a master of my craft. So that's why I like to talk about sanding.
And then in that case, yes, go dive deep. Go for it.
Yeah. Did you think sanding was going to take off the way it did? Do you think it's stalled? Where do you think the interest in sandpaper on paint is in terms of the broad kind of population?
I think it's very minute. I think it's very small. Okay. And for good reason. I understand that. Most people don't even see scratches. So now you're talking, wait, I take sandpaper and I put scratches in? I don't even see scratches. Why am I doing this black magic? But when they see a panel perfected with sandpaper at a high level, they're like, I don't know why that looks way better, but it looks way better. They can't tell you why it looks better, but your eyes will tell you it looks better.
Do you like to cut with the rotary or the DA?
Depends on the surface I'm working with. Sometimes I cut with a DA. Most times though I cut with a rotary, but sometimes, maybe there's not enough time. It depends if I've sanded it. If I've sanded it, yes, definitely rotary wool pad all day long.
Really?
That doesn't change. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a cutting compound that you like to use after a rotary wool pad, or does that also depend?
Not really. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I have my favorites that I like, but it doesn't really matter to me. I like to use them all. So if I'm in a scenario where I don't have my favorite, right, or I couldn't pack it with me, that doesn't stall the project out.
That's what I think is so fascinating about you is like, I thought it was more about the craftsman than the chemical or the tool. And yet there were times where I had to pull my ego to the side and be like, nope, I am super dependent on this particular polish or product because that really makes me better. And what I learned about you, you came to Omaha, you were staying in a hotel, maybe one day was a long day, the next day we didn't eat when we wanted to. Like, I've watched you through a bunch of variables, and it wasn't like we went to war together, but I've seen you out of your element. And what I've learned from you is you're really good, more than most, at kind of going with the flow and not having the strongest opinion no matter what happens, which I think allows you to probably be a happier person, but also good on the fly. And what you told me about your body shop experiences, when they fly you out and you're doing these show cars, you might be in a dusty, dingy garage and you don't have the perfect Viper chair and shop lights. Like, you might not have much space. You might not have the tools, the polishes. Like, you can handle so many different situations. I wonder, could you just talk about that?
Well, that's simple. I'm going to profess or go a different route with that.
Okay.
Look at me. One eye, one arm, one leg. I know people are tired of hearing that, but I've had to overcome daily obstacles that you don't even think about. That's made me adaptable because I've had to adapt my whole life just to be even. So, yeah, a sand scratch, a compound, a no lighting, it's not even a thing.
That's really remarkable. The fortitude there. So when you say it truly depends, I mean, I know that about you is like, you're just like, well, what do I have to work with today? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I thought it was when I first started DIY, you were a real student of what we were doing because you saw the success, and I really appreciated you being like, hey, I saw this and I saw that. You put our gold standard polish through all the paces. You learned it inside and out. Like, I'm sure you've done that with so many products, just so that when the situations arise, you may not have used the product before, but you might be able to feel it, see it, smell it, watch it, get the tactile response, and kind of know what's happening.
Yep. That's my goal.
And that just comes from hours and hours and hours, right? That's just called experience.
Yeah, I just enjoy it. Is it a waste of time? Some people would say that's a huge waste of time, but I enjoy it because it's like, what can I do with that? What can I do with that? I'm not looking for an outcome. I am just seeing what it can do or can do. That's it. I'm not expecting an outcome at all. And once you become of that level where you don't expect an outcome, but you try everything within that realm of possibilities, dude, you just open up your horizons so much more, because I'm focused on the 0.5%.
And yet the broad swath of people are just trying to learn the basics. So they get a feel for who you are and what you're about, and maybe that can inspire them to take whatever passion of theirs and go with it. So are you saying like it's less about the internet experts and the YouTube videos and just more about trusting your own like God-given eyes and like intuition on the paint? Like what are the broader lessons there, maybe past detailing about how to
try it out, but don't expect an outcome. Don't expect a certain outcome because that's not fair. That's not fair to you or who you're working with or whatever the scenario may be. Just try it. You'll come up with your own conclusions along the way. But you take those conclusions and you're like, okay, this is what I see. This is the particular outcome. It either looks good or bad. And you know that perfection doesn't exist. So you have that realm of possibility from I know nothing to perfection, whatever that means. And if you try it over and over again, eventually you're going to become better towards the perfection side of it. You may take a day off. You may have a good day, a bad week, a bad month. But try to learn from those mistakes and write them down, video yourself, and you'll see the progress of what you made. That's overcoming right there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, because you've taught hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many detailers, but I bring up Ivan. He's been a trainer for a long time. So have you. So if folks haven't been trained by you and seen videos from you, I see you out there on your Instagram, and you're training people all the time in body shops and out in what actually, I wanted to ask you about some big mistakes on polishing. So let's not forget that. What are you doing with Jonathan Monson these days? Because I had him on the podcast, Dirty to Dreamy. Are you guys still doing stuff together? I know he's on his own.
Yeah, he's on his own. I'm on his own, but he's more of the business side, and I'm just a technical guy, and we do stuff every once in a while, and it's good. So we're having fun with that, and it's local to me. Yeah. So that's the first and foremost. So.
Absolutely. So you've taught a bunch of detailers. I don't know how many. Do you have an estimate for how many detailers you've trained?
I couldn't even tell you. Honestly, it's probably been in the hundreds.
Yeah, in person, and then I'm sure your impact on that is in the thousands for sure. But what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when they're polishing paint?
I think there's a healthy fear. We've talked about that before, and there's a scared fear. I think when you come in super scared, you're already kind of setting yourself up for failure. Instead, just relax and take it slow. If you take it slow and you pay attention to the details, you're better off getting a better result than instantaneously making a mistake.
Can you talk more about that? Because that sounds almost philosophical, and I'm just sitting here like, hey, I just want to polish paint. You're saying healthy fear, but not too much fear. What is that?
Yeah. Well, let's say we're polishing something, okay? Just start out slow. Start out at, say the machine speed goes from 1 to 6. Start out at a 2 or 3. Just get the feel of the machine, right? Go up on an edge, tilt it a little bit, move that machine around and get the feel of the machine and the pad and the product, and then just kind of, okay, all right, ramp it up a little bit. Make sure you feel that. Ramp it up a little bit, slow it down. You want to be able to know what this tool is doing or what before you even really go for it. So it's really focusing on the minute details that most people don't even think about.
Well, I wanted to actually ask you about that because I recently did a video with Ivan in Omaha, and I've been a speed 4 or 5 polisher my whole life just because I feel like that gets me the result. I put our tool on speed 2, and it was almost like a spiritual experience. It's weird. I felt the machine. I knew what it was doing. I've never felt more one with a tool than when I slowed it down. Can you explain what was happening there?
Yeah, it was the harmonics changing in the tool. So as the harmonics change, you become more relaxed. And if you take your mind out of it and just feel the tool, you'll be able to feel a lot more.
Yeah, I actually felt like I knew what the tool was doing, and I was one with it. Was the weirdest thing. I went on and on about it in the video, and then I haven't explained his thoughts on it. But I wondered what you thought. It's probably not going to be out for a while on our channel. But I actually was like, oh, and it was like, so I can kind of see what you're saying is like spend time with the machine on speed 2.
See what it can do.
See what it can do. I never gave it a chance, right? I never gave it a chance of what it could do.
It might not do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
It may do a lot. You just never know. But until you experience that, right? And when I practice, that's that level that I practice at. I take my experience out of it. I take all the knowledge I've had about it. I take all the hours out of it. And I just look at what I'm working on and let it tell me what it wants.
Is there a danger there in overthinking things? I mean, I'm sure there is, right? But you're talking about taking something to the highest level here.
There's a danger in overthinking everything, right? You overthink it, you're most likely going to make a mistake. So take a deep breath, go at a discipline very slow, and just try to understand it and let your body understand it, and let your eyes, your brain, and your hands and your arms work together. But to do that in any discipline, I'm not just talking detail, I'm just talking anything in general. It takes a slow heart rate. It takes concentration or no concentration. Just let something just do whatever it does.
When are you best at polishing paint? Because I spent a lot of all-nighters when I had my detailing shop, and I knew I wasn't at my best. And I knew I was probably dangerous in terms of like, could I make a mistake right now? I'm losing focus. When are you best, and does that impact like how you work? Because I know you work in situations where you don't get to choose what time, and it's just all hours.
Yeah. I'm best when I'm at home, and I don't polish at home. So I'm always on edge at some level when I'm polishing a car. There's always a healthy fear because I know what can happen. I know what does happen, and I know nothing's perfect. So I'm always on edge to a certain level.
Does it matter the time of day or but it's a healthy on edge as well. And do you get to choose what time of day you're polishing when you're on these jobs where people fly you out, or is it just kind of you're going with it?
It's just going with it. Yeah.
I remember you telling me like years ago when we did one of our first videos, like always having a healthy fear when you put sandpaper on paint. You also have that even with the polisher in your hand?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, sometimes I'm a little more relaxed when things are going right, but that's the problem sometimes. When you're so relaxed and you're so smooth and you decide to take it up a notch and you'll get this spot a little bit more, boom. That's when it gets you.
And is that a message of fear to people, or is that just a message of truth, of just like, this can happen? It's happened to me. Like, obviously you've burned paint. We all have. I mean, we want to be careful where around edges where the paint is thinner. I mean, let's talk to the beginner here. What else could you teach them that I'm sure they could learn with hours of experience, but this would be a good primer?
Sharp edges or curvatures in the panel or whatever. Just if it seems like that area or that section is going to be a problem, just take a deep breath and back off a little bit.
Are you
and try to take it into a smaller section?
Okay, so let's say I'm your friend, brother, whatever, and I'm like, hey, Killmer, what product should I buy? I want to start polishing paint. I know you're product agnostic probably, but like, where would you start? I don't care. DIY, I don't get. I'm just talking about like locally, like just give someone something they could start with. Or, this is the House of Rags podcast, so maybe save 10% off of the House of Rags with code Nick at Night with one of their products. I don't know even what they sell. But give me just like a few options that you, as one of the world's preeminent polishers, could suggest to the DIYer out there.
Well, let's go way back and say, Meguiar's 105 and 205. That stuff is, it's older technology, but it still has its place. It's very accessible and fairly easy to use within reason. So, and it still you still are able to get good results with those products that were made in the early 2000s, I think.
And you can find those at your local AutoZone, O'Reilly.
I think so. Yeah. Amazon. That's the thing. You can buy most of the products on Amazon these days. So
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite finishing polish? Like if you're just trying to get great flawless finish most of the time, I asked Noxie this and he told me about like some mixture of this and that, and he's just like 3 products in one, and I'm like, dude, it's too much.
Yeah.
Like what do you
Sometimes a drier polish, like a 205 will work.
Okay.
Sometimes a more lubricated polish, like your polish, it works better. So it really that's the really science of it, is the final polish. The compounding, it's like taking a hammer to it. You're going to get decent results regardless, but it's the fine, minute polish that really makes or breaks what the end result looks like, if you've done everything correctly to that point.
Right. So when you're talking about removing sand scratches, you like a rotary, you like a compound. What wool pad do you like? I mean, I want to know what Killmer uses. Like, you get to choose exactly what you're bringing in your bag. You know what the job is. Like, what are you packing?
I like an old school 4-ply twisted wool for the most part.
What speed on the rotary are you cranking? Are you tilting it? Are you flat padding it? Is it how much polish you putting on there? What are you doing?
There's so much variables in it. It's hard, but if you come in an area where the pad's fairly flat, but you put a couple degrees of tilt with a little bit of pressure on the backside of the tool, but having that pad flat, you're going to have a fairly good result.
And then when you're doing your rotary passes, and you're probably, you're introducing your own holograms in there as part of the compounding, are you then doing a flat pad with your rotary as your final pass to try to make that next refining step easier? Or are you just leaving the holograms and waiting for the next step? Like, how do you like to finish off your rotary section?
Yeah, your first pass, what you're doing, whatever you're doing, is always a good foundation. So you want to lay that foundation as solid as the paint or product will let you, so your next step is easier, because there is overlap there and you want to try to eliminate the overlap as much as possible.
What has detailing taught you about life?
Patience. I struggle with patience. I struggle hard with patience. And it's taught me to be patient. And the times that I haven't been patient are the times that I've made mistakes.
Wow, that is such a good point. Is like, good things often take time, don't they?
They do. They do.
I mean,
but
really good things take time.
They do. But in this world of fast-paced society, that those patience are kind of put to the wayside.
How do we practice patience?
Knowing that what you're doing now, 5 years from now, is it really going to matter?
Or will it?
It depends on what you're doing. Some of the things we do will, some won't. But for the most part, you're still going to be okay, no matter if it goes really bad. You talk to someone that's been through a natural disaster, right? And you're like, okay, 5 years from now, I know it really is not fun now, and it's going to be a long, hard road, but you're going to be probably okay.
Yeah. So detailing has taught you about patience for life. What has life taught you about detailing?
Major on the majors, minor on the minors.
I like that. Kind of like keep the main thing the main thing. That's been one of my mantras lately, is like, yeah, a shiny car matters, but your relationships probably matter more.
They do.
You know what I mean?
And these are all things that I still struggle with on a daily basis. On a minutely, hourly basis, I struggle with all of it.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
So does everybody else. They just are too scared, or they don't want to say it.
So serve with impact. Maybe we can round off the podcast with that. How can we do that more? Why should we want to serve with impact?
Because life's not about you. Life's not about me. Take the self out of it.
Why?
How can you help? Because when you take the self out of it and you help others, it takes the selfishness out of you. It takes your bad days and makes them a little bit brighter because you're helping others out. Now, there's a fine line where you can deplete yourself too much, where you help so many people out so much that you're no good to anybody around you because you've depleted everything you have. So there is a healthy balance, but if you can serve with impact and make someone's day a little bit brighter, it's all how you present yourself. Okay. I'll give you an example. Just this morning, I go to the dealership, get my oil changed in my newer truck, and I didn't know much about it. I said, hey, I have a problem with this particular thing. The tranny doesn't want to shift, right? And I know it's a problem. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, and it's all how you present yourself. It's not the service guy's fault that my tranny's not working right. So if I go about it in a bad way and I get mad at him for nothing, he doesn't even know who I am. But if I say, hey, excuse me, I'm having this issue. What's your thoughts on it? And it changes the course of the conversation right there.
Wait, as opposed to how could you have approached it?
As being really upset at this particular guy that doesn't even know who I am. Because he works at the counter at the Toyota dealership and it's his problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's serving me.
I think it's so interesting too, is like our kids are watching us, right? They're probably not doing everything that we ask them to do, but they're not. They're watching and studying, even at a nonverbal level. Yeah. Everything we do, how we react to things.
Yeah.
And so we can practice working on ourselves and how we interact with other humans, and that can impact, how they interact with them.
So let me give you the answer to that. He said in the beginning conversation, he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to test drive it. Okay. And I left it at that. Guess what he did? He test drove it.
He did?
Mm-hmm. He test drove it. He said, you're good. It's fine. Now, I still think there's an issue there. But see how the change of communication on the way how I presented it, whether it was right or wrong, the outcome was the outcome. I wasn't worried about the outcome. I wasn't looking for him to do it because I said so, and that's his job. I posed it as a question as I'm asking him as an expert, whether he is or not. And by the tone of voice I used and the way I used my words, he helped me out. When I know he didn't have time to help me out. Now, you can take that two different ways. You can take that as manipulation, right? On my end, manipulating him to do what I wanted, or just say, hey, I got this problem. Do you think you can help me out?
Yeah. I think the more you detail or run your own service-based business, the more you understand how busy people are.
They are.
Who assist in car-related needs, like the tire shop or the oil change place or the mechanic. Like, they're just inundated with stuff all day long, and people are bringing their problems to them. And I often wonder how that impacts them. So, it's
we both know how that works.
Yeah,
it's not fun on the other end.
You and I are both. I love it because you and I are both passionate detailers who have run our own detail shops and have evolved, in what we do, and perhaps we're not the same at all. I get that, but running the small business, bringing the customers in every day, that is its own unique set of life experiences for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%.
What did you learn from running your own detail business as a passionate technician? I know you didn't call yourself, like I mentioned Jonathan Munson, you mentioned him as a business guy. Yeah. I don't strike myself. I don't ever promote myself as a business expert. I was always more passionate about the technician side of like, how can I be the best carpet cleaner or polisher? Never was the best. How can I strive to be the best? I loved the doing of the things, right? And I wonder if you're kind of like that too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say more technical, but I don't like the business side, but when it comes to a more intimate setting where you can talk to the customer, I enjoy that. I don't enjoy the numbers and the more difficult chats that you have to do in business. I don't like that at all. But if it comes to an even keel, person on person, what do you think, Jason? I enjoy that.
Yeah. And it's a real impact you can make too when you're helping people out and transforming their vehicles and they're so absolutely thrilled with what you've done. I really do miss that, one-on-one impact from just detailing their car.
Well, I mean, you hope you make an impact, but, some days you don't. And some days you make mistakes. And then where do you go from there? It's just, it's taking the long stretched pathway and adding it all up and saying, okay, yeah, we're on the plus side of this. Even though we've made mistakes along the way and, lost some friends and, changed some career paths and done that. But at the end of the day, if you can say, yeah, I tried everything I could do with what I was given. Yeah. That's what everybody, I think, inside deeply hopes for. That's the goal.
Jason Killmer, what's the best advice you ever received?
That's a tough one because I've had a lot of impactful conversations with a lot of different people amongst very different backgrounds and economical statures. Enjoy life because you can be here 1 minute and gone the next. And we don't know when that is. And that's tough. That's tough to live by.
But maybe a positive note to end on as well. It was just like maybe a note to everybody. Just try to enjoy your life today. And thank you for listening. And I'm going to try to enjoy the rest of my day, even though this is technically Nick at Night and is airing on the House of Rags in the evening on a Sunday. So for everyone in the live premiere, we appreciate you. But of course, it's going to live on YouTube. Jason, if they want to know how to find you on the interwebs, where can they go?
I would say the best way is just Jason Killmer on Instagram. I'm mostly on that platform. DM me if you have a question or if I can help. I try to help out as many people as I humanly possibly can.
All right, Killmer. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on Nick at Night.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.